Hello. Good morning. Grace and Vic, welcome. How are you all today? It is a very rainy afternoon here in the Alps of France. It's kind of chilly. It could also be that I don't have enough layers on. That might be the problem. I might just be cold. Who knows? I can't tell because I can't feel temperature much. Takes a while. I can feel a little temperature, but that's why I don't always tell. I don't always know when I've burned myself. I just like see the burn wound and go, oh, right, yep, I burnt myself. Okay, let's put that under cold water. How was your weekend? We spent, oh my gosh, is my thing not? No, it's working. Okay. My levels looked weird for a second. We spent Saturday finishing my first playthrough of Doki Doki if you missed it. I, I think that that's my new personality now. Doki Doki Literature Club is just my new personality now. Who knew? I don't know how I spent like when did that game come out? When did Doki Doki come out? Anybody know? Hi Glitch, welcome in. How you doing? Doki Doki Literature Club. Date. It says it was released on 2017. Yeah, how did I go this long? You're playing some of the side stories. Oh. 2017 and 2021. That makes sense. I did the plus version. I knew that that was newer. Well, I mean it's the same thing. It just has some extra little bits. I don't know how I went this long without playing it. But I did know like I knew it was pretty infamous. And it had like a good cult following. And I was like, okay, I've gone this long without playing it. That's fine. And I somehow went through it without getting any spoilers. No spoilers for me. I went through the whole thing, no spoilers. And like I got to I just came up and I was like, oh, I know I can play it. Oh. Ooh. You're on a 3-stream streak. Thank you for coming. That was another thing I was going to say. Things I need to remember to do. Okay, so first off, I did some stuff and I never actually checked if they worked. So let's see if StreamerBot is working. Those socials. Here, look. Follow me on my socials if you would like. Also, I recently made a Discord if you would like to follow for updates and more pictures of my dogs than I throw on Blue Sky, because I tried to hold back. Although right now I'm kind of mad at my dogs. Just a little mad at one. At least one of them I'm mad at. I love her, but she peed on my bed. And she made it so that while I was exhausted yesterday, I ended up lying down in a puddle of pee. And I'm just not happy with her. I know it was her too. I can tell. And so now I'm mad at her. Especially because it wasn't like she couldn't ask to go outside. And I would be less mad if she would have just peed on the floor. She could have picked the floor. But she's like, no, that's where I sleep. So. And also, I'm not the one who takes them out. I'm actually not allowed to take them out. So if she was going to pee on the bed, could she have not targeted the person who takes her out? I still would have been mad. But then I wouldn't have lied down and pee. Hi Jinx, welcome in. That is not all that matters to me. I am joking. I was just really upset last night, and then I'm still upset this morning. Was fine. They were fine this morning. I got up without them barking or anything like that. That's because I just had a bad weekend. Other than Doki Doki. Doki Doki was the highlight of my weekend. I had a really fun time playing it. I can't wait. We're gonna play it again on Saturday, and I'm gonna try to like get some of the pieces that we haven't gotten, some of the storylines that we didn't get, and then do some fun things. Hi, Biru. I did it again. Hi, Biru. How are you? You missed it. I'm gonna do it again. I'm putting it in there. You can. You missed that. I made a Discord. If you wanna, I'm throwing it in there again. Yep, it still works. If you'd like to join the Discord, please do. If you don't want to, you also don't have to. That's also fine. I feel silly because I have 53 followers and I made a Discord, but that's okay. People had asked like once or twice, and I was like, okay, maybe I should do it. It feels silly, though. It feels silly. I do not have fans. You guys are my friends, mostly. But I do, it is nice to have a spot, like, because we're gonna do, we're doing symphonic metal on, we're doing symphonic metal on Thursday. So, like, if you want to recommend a symphonic metal song, you can do that in the music thread, the music channel. Or if you have a genre of music you would like us to explore, you could do that there. If you have books you'd like to recommend, if you have games you'd like to recommend, all of that can be done there, and it's actually helpful for me to like just keep it in one place instead of like trying to write it down on a piece of paper and then losing that piece of paper. So it is kind of nice. Oh, you have 2 fans? That's good. Are they me and Glitch? Oh, they're set. Okay. I don't have any of those types of fans because, again, I'm cold. I'm cold. I'm chilly today. It's rainy. I took painkillers, so enjoy that part of me. Let me see. But today is a different day. We are doing We're not doing music. We're doing books. We're doing book talk. We're gonna do a book talk. This is something new. I haven't done this before. It was an idea that I had. And I don't know if we'll do this again because I don't think that it'll come up, but we'll probably do book talks again if I can think of a topic. But it was something that came up, and that I have read many adaptations of a particular story. And that story is The Fall of the House of Usher. It is a pretty good story. It's a short story. I mean, it's a really popular Edgar Allan Poe short story. A lot of his stories are fairly popular, and there just were a more than a handful adaptations of it, which are not just like film adaptations or something like that, because there's a bunch of those too. And it's spooky season, so it was a good choice for October to do this. Though I feel like any of my book talks are going to be spooky in nature because I tend to read horror. I read horror or fantasy, but usually my fantasy is dark fantasy, so, you know. In fact, I picked up one that I thought was just going to be fantasy. It's about vampires, lesbian vampires. I didn't expect that. I'm not upset about it. I'm not upset to be reading a book about lesbian vampires. It seems fun. It's going well. But yeah, I've read a bunch of this, so we're gonna look at 3 of them today. And we're just gonna talk about them, and we're gonna see how it goes. I don't know. Basically, we're gonna go back to some of my teaching roots. It's going to be sort of a interactive lecture, if you will. And we're just gonna talk about these ones, and then I'm not going to grade you. I'm going to grade the adaptations in the end. Which I think is just a more teachery version of a tier list. But we're not going to do a tier list because there's only 3, and that's dumb. Way more interesting than gay vampires from Anne Rice. True. We're not going back to school. We're not going. This is not school. And if it is school, then I'm not like those other teachers. I'm a cool teacher. You can call me by my first name. That's so dumb. There's no quiz. Nothing like that. In fact, you don't even have to have read any of these because I'm going to tell you about them. And then hopefully I'll try to keep the adaptations a little spoilery free, but we're going to go into a little bit of a background on what happened in the fall of the House of Usher, because I don't expect that all of you have read it. And if you have read it, I assume you haven't read it in many years. I know not all of you are American, and Edgar Allan Poe is an American author, and so we in America tend to read him more than other places. Also, it's not that great. Just as somebody who read it like a couple of days ago again, not the best. Mr. Poe. Also, I would say that about most of Mr. Poe's works, to be honest. Not that great. Teacher, if you ask me to use the bathroom, I will smack you. I would do that in my own things. Look at you guys. You guys are so nice to me. We got another 3-stream streak. That's nice. You're gonna. Oh, I'll sit. I don't think I'll sit backwards in my chair because that would be very difficult to do in a wheelchair. No tests, nothing like that. Just a fun time. There was a mural of him by my apartment in Philly. That makes sense. Speaking of lesbian vampires, I have some background with Edgar Allan Poe that I think is kind of funny. That I once had a dream about Edgar Allan Poe, and it made me want to write a book about the dream because I have dreams a lot where I am not myself. But instead, I'm playing a character, like I'll be somebody completely different than who I am. Sometimes I'll like be a man with a wife and a son, and we're going on a fishing trip. And these are like things I would not do. But like, yeah, I have dreams where I play a character. So in this one, I was playing a high school English teacher, which is not that far off from who I would have been. But I was a high school English teacher who was like around the age of 24, so like really new. And my name was Jenny, and I was trying to get ready for October lesson planning, and I was going to do something with Edgar Allan Poe because he writes scary stuff, so that makes sense for October. And then I was getting haunted, what I thought was haunted by Edgar Allan Poe, but it turns out that he was actually a vampire who was stalking me, and he wanted to turn me and put me into his coven of vampires who were all very young looking women and girls with a certain type of look. And he was trying to fit in with the more contemporary vampire aesthetics and was complaining bitterly about the chafing that leather pants was doing to him. New blood. I think he would love that. I do too. Yeah. I remember there was like a part in the dream where he was like bringing me in to like meet the others, and they're like, another one? You need to stop getting these young girls. We agreed on an age limit. And she's like, I'm 24. And they're like, you don't look it. And I was like, neither do any of you. And I was like, yeah, because she's 13. It was before we put the age limit restrictions in. Okay, so Edgar Allan Poe was thought to have been a little bit of a not a pedophile. That's not what I mean. But kind of. He really liked his cousin. He really, really liked his cousin quite a lot. And she was, I don't know, 14, 12, something like that. She was young when this obsession with her at least started. So that's where all of that comes from. She, yeah, like even we can all say like, oh, it was at different times. You stop your barking right now, sir. I also am upset by this, but even at the time, it was way too young. That wouldn't have been a thing back then. I mean, it's him and Joseph Smith, am I right? At least he was only obsessed with the one girl. She was 13, yeah. Yeah, it was a different time, but even then people were getting the ick from it. So yeah, he's not, we could say death of the author or stuff like that, but I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say further from this. This part probably will not end up in the YouTube video that we make of this, which is also something that I think is the reason why we were thinking of doing this, was because it would make an interesting long form YouTube video in, two birds, one stone. Well, let's do that. Let's move on to here so we can kind of take a look. What are we doing? What is this? This is the. Wait. No. There we go. I'm smell. Oh, damn it. I pressed the wrong thing. Okay, so the fall of the House of Usher, which is a little bit cut off there, but you can kind of see it here, is a short 30, you can't see it, but this says 36 pages. I think the one that I read was 42 pages. I've also read a version that was 12 pages that was very tiny text. So it's a short story. Let's go into what actually happens in this story, because I don't expect you guys to know or remember. So it starts off with an unnamed narrator who it's done in first person. And I think that the first half of the story is really, really boring. It does not pull you in. You kind of don't care until you get to like maybe, I think it might be like page 5 on mine, where it suddenly goes into some stuff about it. But it's there's this unnamed narrator who is you or me, it's the I, and he is on his way to a childhood friend's house, Roderick Usher. And Roderick had mailed him a message saying, "Hey bro, I think I'm dying. Come visit because I'm not doing well." And so MC is what I'm gonna start referring to them as, is like, okay, cool, I'm gonna go see my friends, see what this is about. I surely can be help in this situation. And in that like first like 5 or so pages, he talks a little bit about Roderick and the family, and eventually gets into some pretty good tea about them, and is just like, BTW, family is incestuous. Let me see if I can find the actual quote, because I think it's pretty good. Speaking of sexual taboos and Edgar Allan Poe, he also puts it into his writing. He says, "I had learned too the very remarkable fact that the stem of the Usher race, all time honored as it was, had put forth at no period any enduring branch. In other words, in other words, that the entire family lay in a direct line from descent, and had always, with very trifling and very temporary variation, so lain." Yay! Yay! And so they are all descended from one another. Very little variation, which is something I think I had missed in my first reading of this, or something that maybe my teachers gloss over. Which I makes sense because you don't want to like talk about that. So yeah, he does put down. That is where it gets a little bit interesting. They're like, here's some incest tea for you, by the way, which is not uncommon, I guess. I found it kind of funny. Ooh, I gave your gal the moon green eyes. Not oh. I like it. Okay, thanks. So we keep on going. He gets to the actual mansion and he talks a little bit about how the house is dark, dank, decrepit. It seems like it's moldy. And then it's kind of like the bricks themselves are like crumbling in the mortar, which I thought was kind of an interesting way to put it. So there's just like this idea that something's wrong with the house. And it's a sort of symbol. It's symbolism for a physical symbolism of the fact that the family itself is crumbling. So the house is physically crumbling, but the family is crumbling. And so we go in, we talk to Roderick. He is anxious, to say the least. Typical Gothic architecture, that's right. He's anxious. He's kind of erratic, actually, too. Like, he just is not doing well. And he's going on and on about how he's gonna die. And he finally lets it slip that it's the fact that his sister is going to die. And he's pretty sure that the moment she dies, that's what's going to kill him. Which I don't really understand. Other than, I don't know. Maybe what will he? Is it because he can't boink her? I mean, they don't have any heirs, so that is true. But it's just like, is it because they didn't incestuously produce offspring? Like, I think you're supposed to do that with like a cousin or something, no? Maybe that's not what. Maybe I don't know. Maybe Poe didn't want to do that, but like maybe like that's what he's thinking is like I didn't produce heirs with my sister, so now I can't produce any heirs, and now the Usher clan is no more. But he's like sure that the moment Madeline kicks the bucket, he's gonna die. And we don't actually see her really. He says something along the lines of like he sees her like passing through like a hallway or something, but he only like gets a glimpse of her heel. So you never actually see Madeline until she dies. But yeah, I don't know. Who's to say? Maybe it's just that he's upset. But yeah, maybe it's just that he's upset that he can't keep fucking her. I don't know. But the MC tries his best to just cheer his buddy up. They chill and lounge on the couch and they make art and they read literature and they sing together. You know, all the things that you would normally typically see men do to cheer one another up. Just a regular old bro sesh going on for like a week. And then Madeline does die. And he like wakes MC up. Roderick wakes MC up and is like, Madeline's dead. We kind of have to go put her body somewhere to go chill for a while until, I don't know if it was until they could bury her or until somebody could make their way out to inspect the body or something. I'm not entirely sure. But they put her in what is essentially a cellar that was like he goes into detail about how the cellar was made, and it had like a metal door. Yeah, it has like a metal door, and it's like the walls have this insulation to keep things cold, and I don't really remember the exact details of it because it wasn't that important, but he goes into a lot of detail about it just to further put into proof like nobody else could be in there, nobody could break out of it, nobody could break into it. So I think that's the reason why there's all these details in it. But the day goes on, or the time goes on, and Roderick is not doing well. Vampire vibes, right? Roderick's not doing well, he's sad, and then the oppressive feelings that were already there in the house just amplify. And finally, it gets to this point where MC is also starting to feel the anxiety and the paranoia that we saw in Roderick earlier on. Then one night, there's this really big storm. I think it's like right after her death. It doesn't take long, but there's this really big storm, and it wakes him up, and he goes and he gets dressed because he says he's getting this, he has this feeling that something's about to happen. Shit is about to go down, and he is anxious about it. He doesn't know what it is. And then he hears like footsteps outside, and it makes him scared. But then it's Roderick, and he comes and he knocks on the door, and he comes in and he's like, oh, okay, it's just Roderick. However, I would be like, fuck, it's Roderick. The guy who's really upset that he can't sleep with his sister anymore is in my bedroom. Oh boy. But that's not why he's there. He's like, no, dude, you gotta check this shit out. That's not really what he says. But yeah, I got excerpt number 1. It's a couple of paragraphs, so bear with me here. And you have not seen it, he said abruptly, after having stared about him for some moments in silence. You have not then seen it? But stay, you shall. Thus speaking, and having carefully shaded his lamp, he hurried to one of the casements and threw it freely open to the storm. The impetuous fury of the entering gusts nearly lifted us from our feet. It was, indeed, a tempestuous yet sternly beautiful night, and one wildly singular in its terror and its beauty. A whirlwind had apparently collected its force in our vicinity, for there were frequent and violent alterations in the direction of the wind, and the exceeding density of the clouds, which hung so low as to press upon the turrets of the house, did not prevent our perceiving the life-like velocity with which they flew careening from all points against each other, without passing away into the distance. I say that even their exceeding density did not prevent our perceiving this, yet we had no glimpse of the moon or the stars, nor was there any flashing forth of the lightning, but the under surfaces of huge masses of agitated vapor, as well as all terrestrial objects immediately around us, were glowing in the unnatural light of a faintly luminous and distinctly visible gaseous exhalation which hung about and enshrouded the mansion. You shall not behold this, said I shudderingly to Usher, as I led him with a gentle violence from the window to a seat. These appearances which bewilder you are merely electrical phenomena and not uncommon. Or it may be that they have their ghastly origin in the rank miasma of the tarn. Let us close this casement. The air is chilling and dangerous to your frame. Here is one of your favorite romances. I will read to you and you shall listen, and so we shall pass away this terrible night together. Okay, so storm seems like tornadic activity, and wind, scary stuff, low hanging clouds, but the clouds have this gassy light. Ew. There's light that it's glowing this weird color, and nobody knows why. And of course MC's like, no, this is normal, this is fine, this is great. You're just scared for reasons I don't know why. You're just being paranoid. This is normal and naturally occurring. Don't worry about it. It's probably just the tarn. The lake has, I don't know, luminous poop in it. I don't know. Something, but this is normal. This is fine. You're just being silly. Here, let us read together this romance, which is something that we've been doing this whole week, and is totally normal and not weird at all, and just things bros do. So, he begins to read from Sir Lancelot of Caning, and he's reading this stuff that's happening in it. I think they're like fighting a dragon or something. I don't really remember. But while he's reading, stuff is happening in the story, and there seems to be sounds coming from within the house that mirror what's happening in the story. Things like scratches and footsteps and creaking. And at one point, there's like a opening metal door. Yes. And that is when Roderick starts to freak the fuck out even more. And when that creaking happens, the door opening, he just goes completely rigid and stares down at the ground like oh fuck, oh fuck, oh shit, oh fuck. And then we have this next part, and it'll be to the end. So this starts on page 40 for me. But as I placed my hand upon his shoulder, there came a strong shudder over his whole person. A sickly smile quivered about his lips, and I saw that he spoke in a low, hurried, and gibbering murmur, as if unconscious of my presence. Bending closely over him, I at length drank in the hideous import from his words. Not hear it? Yes, I hear it, and I have heard it long, many minutes, many hours, many days have I heard it, yet I dared not. Oh, pity me, miserable wretch that I am! I dared not speak. We have put her living in the tomb. She said I not that my senses were acute. I now tell you that I heard her first feeble movements in the hollow coffin. I heard them many days ago, yet I dared not speak. And now tonight, Etherweld, haha, I'm breaking of my hermit's door, and the death cry of the dragon and the clangor of the shield, say rather the rending of her coffin, and the grating of the iron hinges of her prison, and her struggles within the coppered archway of the vault. Oh, whither shall I try? Will she not be here anon? Is she not hurrying to unbraid me from my haste? Have I not heard her footsteps on the stair? Do I not distinguish the heavy and horrible beating of her heart? Madman! Here he sprang furiously from his feet, and shrieked out all his syllables, as if in the effort he were giving up his soul. Madman, I tell you that she now stands without the door! As if in the superhuman energy of his utterance there had been found a potency of a spell, the huge antique panels to which the speaker pointed threw slowly back, upon instant, their ponderous and ebony jaws. It was work of the rushing gust, but then without the doors there did not stand the lofty and enshrouded figure of Lady Madeline of Usher. There was blood upon her white robes, and the evidence of some bitter struggle upon every portion of her emaciated frame. For a moment she remained trembling and reeling to and fro upon the threshold, then, with a low moaning cry, fell heavily inward upon the person of her brother, and in her violent and now final death agonies bore him to the floor, a corpse and a victim to the terrors he had anticipated. From the chambers and from that mansion I fled aghast. The storm was still abroad in all its wrath, as I found myself crossing the old causeway. Suddenly there shot along the path a wild light, and I turned to see whence a gleam so unusual could have issued, for the vast house and its shadows were alone behind me. The radiance was that of the full, setting and blood-red moon, which now shone vividly through that once barely discernible fissure, of which I have spoken before as extending from the roof of the building in a zigzag direction of the base. While I gazed, this fissure rapidly widened. There came a fierce breath of the whirlwind, and the entire orb of the satellite burst at once upon my sight. My brain reeled as I saw the mighty walls rushing asunder. There was a long, tumultuous shouting sound like the voice of 1,000 waters, and the deep and dark tarn at my feet closed sullenly and silently over the fragments of the house of Usher. And there we have it, guys. That is the actual end of the story. So, to break down the language is what was going on there. It was Roderick went rigid and was like, "Ah, fuck, the jig is up." Oh no! He starts being like, "We buried her alive. Fuck, goddamn! All of these sounds that I've been hearing her for a while, but I was too scared to talk about it. I was too scared to say anything. But we buried her alive, and now she's coming up, and she gonna get me. She gonna get me." And then all at once the wind opens up the door, and who's there but you know, the dead bitch. It's Lady Usher. She's dead. Well, an undead, I guess, or not dead. Is she dead or is she undead? Who knows? And she's not okay. She's got blood on her robe. She looks like she's been through something. And she like runs in and she pounces upon her brother, which apparently has happened before, but we don't talk about that part. But she pounces upon him and he dies instantly. And you, as MC, we run out of the house and we run away, like over the causeway, and then there's a big light and we're like, what the fuck was that? And MC looks behind him, and it's he had mentioned there was a crack in the house originally, and that fissure of the house is now breaking open and tearing the house apart, and the house is falling into the tarn that is around it. Yes, I say MC because it makes sense. Who cares if that's the thing that we say? But that's who he is. He's MC. He's an unnamed narrator and the main character of the story. What else are we going to call him? And that is how the fall of the House of Usher ends. It is a short story. You got like a page and a half of it, so good job. We almost read the whole book today, or a story. It's a quick read. So like, what is this way? What is the description of this version on here? Dive in from a singular mind of Edgar Allan Poe, who is widely regarded as the master of short horror fiction, I guess. No, they don't really talk about those times between them. You have to infer it. Recounts the terrible events that befall the last remaining members of the once illustrious Usher clan before it's quite literally rent asunder. With amazing economy, Poe plunges the readers into a state of deliciously agonizing suspense. It's a must-read for fans of the golden era of horror writing. No, I wouldn't say that Poe was a coward. It's just that it was inferred. It was inferred, which makes sense that it would be. It's a classic. It's a pretty good story. I feel like there's better short stories from Usher, which is why I'm like slightly annoyed that this one is one that I've noticed there being a lot of adaptations for. So, that is the first book. Or that is our original story. It's okay. He does. The one thing I can say for Poe is that he does a really good job of putting that feeling of dread into the people. Adaptations, because there's so much to be desired within the narrative. I agree. I think that there's a lot that could there's a lot in it, and the thing here says something about amazing economy. Okay, well, maybe. But there is pretty good economy in it, that there is a lot of things that you can pull from it and expand on it, like literally expand on it, to make a much more interesting and fuller story, which a lot of these authors have done. So the first one that we're going to talk about is What Moves the Dead by T. Kingfisher. Now, Kingfisher is probably one of my top horror authors. She also does a lot of fantasy and fun stuff like that. She does dark fairy tales that I really like. But she got her start out actually as a children's writer, mostly middle grade, so like small chapter books. And yeah, they look interesting. I've never read any of them though. But I started out with her adult horror, and this is from a series of what I would actually call novella length things, because this one's 165 pages, and the next one is also about the same length, under 200 pages. But they're very good, and they're fun. I'm gonna try to like tell you what happened in it, I guess. Fungal Dread killer band name. Yeah, Fungal Dread. This is a good, yeah, Fungal Dread. Yeah, this one has a little bit of a better description. We'll go ahead and read it. Yay, breakfast! When Alex Easton, a retired soldier, receives word that their childhood friend Madeline Usher is dying, they race to the ancestral home of the Ushers in the remote countryside of Ruritania. Ruritania. When they find that there is a nightmare of fungal growths and possessed wildlife surrounding the dark, pulsing lake, Madeline sleepwalks and speaks in strange voices at night, and her brother Roderick is consumed with a mysterious malady of nerves. Aided by a redoubtable, sorry, couldn't see it, British mycologist and a baffled American doctor, Alex must unravel the secrets of the House of Usher before it consumes them all. Right. So, this one is... It was an interesting story. I'm trying to decide what I want to do with ads here. We're gonna have ads. I'm gonna keep on going. I'm gonna keep telling you about this, and then we'll have ads, and it'll be good. Yeah, we'll do that. That'll work. So this one was pretty good. Oh, redoubtable? I couldn't see the word. It's like, I don't know, formidable is probably a good, I probably would have used the word formidable, honestly. But yeah. So we have a couple of different characters. We have Alex Easton, and I love this character, and all of the books in the Sworn Soldier series follows them. And for ease, we're gonna refer to them as they, them. They were born female, but didn't want to go into the traditional gender role that women were forced to. And in their country, there is a different thing that is possible for all genders. They can become a soldier, and when you become a soldier, you are stripped of any notion of gender role. You don't even have, you have a different set of pronouns. Even I think it's ken and can, but I can't remember exactly, so I don't want to use them. It's like kin and can or something like that. And you were just a soldier then, not a woman, not a man. You are a soldier. And so Alex is a retired soldier now after spending some time in war. And I thought that was really, really cool. Okay, I'm not going to be able to get through it as fast as I thought I was going to. So I'm going to go ahead and let ads go. And then we'll come back and keep talking about what moves the dead. If I can get the ads to play. My gender is war. Yeah, that's basically what it is. I kind of like it, though. I'm kind of into it. Can I play ads? Or are the ads playing? Are the ads going? I'm confused. What is it doing? What are you doing? It won't let me play them, but there it goes. There it goes. There we go. Yeah, I read this one in... When did it come out? When did it come out? It'll tell us here. 2022. Yeah, I think I read it in 2022. Or 2023. Could have been 2023. different. I'm sorry. I'm being quiet now. I know not all of you are getting ads. I know some of you don't watch ads. But if you are watching ads, I do really appreciate it. I do really appreciate anybody who sits back and watches a couple of ads for me. Because every cent counts, you know? I appreciate any support that you can give. I do not post regularly on my Instagram, but I will be adding shorts to it whenever we get there. So if you are following and being like, what the fuck, she doesn't post, that's why I don't have any content right now. But I will be posting them once we need to get a couple. We need some back up there, but we'll put some songs on there and we'll throw any of the shorts from the stream on there. And yeah. But I do I post most regularly on Blue Sky. Even if it's just like stream alert stuff like that and pictures of my dog. We have some stuff going on in the Discord. We'll post some stuff there. Once again, pictures of my dogs. I'm a little obsessed with my dogs. What can I say? I like them. Except for the one right now. I still like her. But she's getting less cookies. She's getting less cookies right now. I am not motivated to pass them out right now. And they didn't get sticks last night. They are very what's the word I'm looking for? Neglected. I've neglected my dogs. Okay, you're back. You're back. Right? You're all back? You're back? I'm being a bad teacher in that I said we're going to like grade and do everything here, but I didn't actually show you the rubric. It has come to I've realized now I did not show you the rubric of what we're actually going to be, what we need to keep in mind. We need to keep in mind for this. This is gonna be a mess to edit. I'm so sorry, but we'll start here. we're gonna small aside. Now that you're back from ads, we're going to talk about this. The rubric. Thank you. Thank you. Adaptation rubric. So, there's 4 different criteria that we're going to focus on for this. And the first one is adherence to the spirit of the source text. We don't want it to adhere to the text completely, obviously, because that does not make a good adaptation. But the spirit of the text should still be in there. And then we're going to look at story element development, unique vision and interpretation of the source text, and then pizzazz. It was the only thing I could think of to name that one. Which is basically, did I like it? If I liked it, it's gonna go better. So adherence to the spirit of the text, excellent, would give you 5 points. The book remains faithful to the overall vibe of the source, using similar settings, character names, and themes to let their version to tell their version of the same story. A pretty good would be this book uses a similar setting, characters, and themes, but the version of the story they tell is far removed from the original text. Not bad, the vibe is there, but that's about it. The characters are wildly different. There's not much from the original text here, but the inspiration is noticeable. What the fuck was that? There may be 1 or 2 elements from the original text, but they have moved so far from it that it is no longer recognizable, which would give you 0. Story element development. An excellent would be the setting, atmosphere, and themes of the book are recognizable to the source, to the original text, but have been developed into something fitting the author's style, adding richness and personality to the adaptation. A pretty good, which would be worth 4, is that the story elements are almost entirely changed to fit the author, having little resemblance to the original text. The personality of the author is still strong, though, and adds richness to this text. So for me, I would prefer they change a lot than they change nothing, which would be a not bad, is that the elements are very similar to the original text, while some attempt has been made to add bits of the adaptation author to it. It fails to enhance the richness and personality of the adaptation. And then what the fuck is that, which would be 0 points, is that the story elements are basically a copy and paste from the original text. So there was no attempt to develop anything here. And then the unique vision and interpretations of the source text would be here. The adaptation takes a source material and makes it their own, with added unique interpretations that make the adaptation unique, which is a little bit different from the development, because I want them to put something new and different in it. So it's not just taking something that was from the original text. It's something that, like, they took this and they, like, went, oh, I think this means this. So, like, maybe they're going to talk about the incest thing. So they're going to add something more to the incest thing than just, like, yeah, they fuck each other. The source material is evident. This would be a pretty good, but the story has shifted too far away from the original elements to be recognizable. Yeah, if they went too far off of the beaten path. I think that that makes it a less good adaptation. And then if they're unable to, if they do something with the interpretation that is still sort of unique and interesting, but it relies too heavily on tropes or cliches, then I think that that is worth a not bad. And then if the adaptation fails to provide any of their own interpretation of the source chat, what did I say here? Provide any of their own interpretation of the source at all, ChatGPT probably wrote this adaptation. Okay. That's worth a what the fuck is that? And then pizzazz. If I love this book and I want to hug it, it gets a 5. If Callie really likes this book and recommends it but doesn't really want to give it a hug, then it's worth a 4. If Callie thinks that this was a fun time but doesn't really care to own it or reread it, then that's worth a 3. And then Callie is going to throw this adaptation into the sun is worth a 0. They can get a total of 20 points. Okay. All right. And then the first one we're going to do, well, it is What Moves the Dead, which is what we're working on right now. I probably keep it on this because I'm just blabbing at this point. So we talked a little bit already before the break about What Moves the Dead. It has Alex Easton, and I was trying to talk to you guys about the interesting fact that Alex Easton comes from this country that is a fictional country. It's a European country. It's called Galicia, I think is the way that it is pronounced. And it has this tradition of, if you become a soldier, you are stripped of pretty much everything in of identity. While you are a soldier, you are just a soldier. You are neither man nor woman. You are a soldier. And because of that, they have their own set of pronouns. Like this culture in this language has pronouns for everything. In the most recent edition for the Sworn Soldier series, which is what this comes from, they talk about how there's pronouns for rocks. So like the language itself just has a lot of different pronouns too, so that's not unusual. But because of that, we refer to Alex as they them instead of, they're just like non-binary taken to a certain, it's like cultural non-binary and cultural neo-pronouns. And I just think it's a really interesting, and it's a cool topic of gender roles, which we saw in the first one too. There was a little bit of conversation that you could have, like in the original text, about gender roles, because Madeline Usher is not talked about like at all. You see her heal, and then she's a dead body, and then she's either been buried alive or entombed alive, or she's, you know, undead, and that's all you get to hear about her. So there's a conversation you could have about gender roles in this, which I think would be interesting to explore that. Um, and so I feel like T. Kingfisher has done that by creating this character who is basically non-binary and uh, explores a lot of concepts within the time period, which this is, I believe, the 1800s, and what gender is, because like outside of this area, everybody's like, "What the fuck is going on with Ken or Can?" I don't remember. I don't remember the actual pronouns, but what's up with this? I don't understand this. This is just unusual, and they get to like describe it, and it's interesting. And I really, I think that's why I love this series so much, is because of Alex Easton. Also, Alex Easton is a fun character. They are really dumb almost. Like they're going to this place and they're like, my best buddy Madeline Usher, who I kind of had a crush on as a kid, like they kind of like grew up together, um has mailed me saying that they are very, very ill and I need to come visit and they may be dying. And like in the original, again, we have like a discussion of gender. This was a message that was sent to the main character by Roderick Usher, and it was all about, oh, I'm going to die, I am sick, Roderick is saying. Meanwhile, it's Madeline, the one who's fucking the one they have to bury because she dies. Anyway. So Madeline is the one who has the agency here, and she's the one who wrote the letter. And so Alex comes immediately and sees that the house and the lands have fallen into a little bit of disrepair, to put it mildly, and there is fungal growth everywhere. Just, it's kind of icky. And the air's sort of hard to breathe, and the tarn is fucking gross as hell. Damn. Um it like, someone needs to go get a pool skimmer or something, but at this point I don't think that's gonna help. The tarn glows sometimes. It's so bad. And when on their way they meet the mycologist. I was hoping that it would actually tell us people's names, because I don't remember. I don't remember her name. I should have wrote it down and I did not. But we meet the mycologist. The pool skimmer can't save us now. Exactly. She's a little British woman who is kind of a fun character. I wonder if it says it more here. No? Mushroom? Damn it. I can't remember her name. I thought I would. Come on. There we go. Sometimes people do that thing where they put in information in the background. They like give us a little thing on here. They didn't in this case. They did not. That's okay. That's okay. We don't need it. We don't need it. We don't need it. We'll be fine. But yeah, the the mycologist is this cute little British woman. She's a nice woman and all. I don't know. but she has like this feeling of like, oh, I just have this interest in fungus, and I like to, she's going around trying to get samples and she's drawing them. um Eugenia Potter. I had to look it up. I'm sorry. Anyway, so Potter is her name, Ms. Potter. She thinks that but she's like, "Oh, I'm a woman and therefore I can't really be a mycologist." And Alex is like, "But you're doing all the work of a mycologist. You're doing research. You're taking samples, like why can't you be a mycologist?" And she's like, "Well, I can't get like the education to get one because they won't let women into the universities." And Alex is like, "Fuck that, you're a mycologist, I say so." And so like, yeah, she's studying the fungus around there, and so she's really interested in the what's going on around there. And she's talking a little bit about like, hey, there's like really crazy fungal things that I've never seen before. And the people around the town are also like, yeah, that place is cursed. You shouldn't go there. Also, don't hunt there. Just don't, because if you hunt there, you're gonna get infected with fungal shit. And it's true. The hares, like the hares are the big rabbits. That's what people would typically hunt in the area, but all of the hares are um, infected, let's say, with this fungal growth. And they aren't behaving like a hare should. They're not afraid of people. So, anyway, Easton, they make their way to the house. The house is also, just like in the original, falling apart. Does not look well. The library is fucked. All of the books are like full of mushrooms. There's fungal growth on the walls. It's like rabies by fungus, right? And like the people who work at the house are also seemingly unwell. Nobody looks well here. And so then we have Roderick Usher, and he looks sick also, but not as sick as his sister, who who is emaciated and talking strangely. She's able to speak though, but she does speak a little bit weird, and she seems to be sleepwalking and moves erratically. Like she doesn't seem to have great control over her movement. And then like it gets as bad as like there's like these like weird filaments growing on her skin. It is icky, to say the least. Let's see. So I'm looking at my notes. We keep going in with the story. It moves along at a pretty good pace, and we're introduced to another character named James Denton, who is a American doctor who's kind of like, he's also a friend of the Ushers and has come in to kind of like see what's going on. And he's like this other voice of reason to be like, I don't know what's wrong with her, but she's definitely not doing well, and nobody is in it. It must be something with the fungal growth. We don't know much about it outside of that though. And then another character that is involved is Angus. We don't know his last name, but this is a helper of sorts for Alex. I guess like cuz Alex comes from like a wealthy sort of family, and so like just like a companion but also like sort of a servant. But like Alex doesn't treat Angus as a servant, but you know, Alex asks Angus to come because like things are weird, and they just want support, and so they ask their long time, I don't even know what to call this person, but manservant is the only thing that's coming to mind. They're like valet, you know? Like they just ask him to come and help out a little bit. And there's a really weird, crazy scene. I was not able to get a copy of the book. I don't own it, and I wasn't able to get one from the library. But there's this really crazy scene where they go hunting at some point, and they see that the hares are basically do have that rabies by fungus situation where like the fungal growths are kind of like growing out of them, and then at one point they're like trying to attack them. Like Alex is alone at one point, and the rabbits sort of surround them. Like, you know that one scene in, I can't remember the horror film, maybe it's The Ring, I don't know, but there's a scene they're in a car, and then all of the what are the deer surround the car and start kind of like attacking it. You're picturing Monty Python rabbit a little bit. But like all the rabbits attack, like encircle Alex and are like behaving threateningly. And that's what I mean by like Alex can be kind of dumb, because Alex is seeing these things happening and is alarmed by it, but is just like, huh, surely there's an explanation for this that is not bad. Like it can't be bad. Surely there's an explanation. Hmm. I just realized something. My music isn't working. You guys haven't had music this whole time. It was The Ring too. That's good. You haven't had music this whole time. I'm so sorry, guys. I've been sitting here listening to this cool, like, soft jazz. Why is it not working? Give me a second. Oh, that's weird. Why is it not working? Hold on a minute. I can fix it. I can fix it. Oh, I did fix it. No, I didn't fix it. I lied. I did fix it. I fixed it. Good job, Callie. Pat on back. Patting back. Patting. Okay, I fixed it. Alright. But yeah, the whole time, like, Alex is just kind of like, nothing bad is happening here, right? This can all be explained. This can all be explained. Nothing crazy is happening. But yeah, it is kind of interesting. I don't want to give too much away because I would like you guys to read this. It is a very interesting book. But I think that some of the good things that it really did was it took what Pell gave, the concept and the source story, and it gives it this biological scientific explanation for what's happening. So we don't just have like this mysterious like fantastical supernatural reason, and that like Madeline is undead or something like that. Like it's not anything like that. It's not ghosts. It's not a haunting. It is the fungus. The fungus is the reason why this is happening. But the fungus is more than just like what a normal fungal growth would be. It is still supernatural in a way, but like in a almost sci-fi way. So I think that's kind of interesting. But because of this, um it turns the theme of the fall of the House of Usher, from which was originally the decay of a family, um the breakdown of a family, and that sort of decay that was shown, manifested physically in the house, and then shown to literally fall apart. And it was sort of a condemnation of the incestuous nature of that family, and the that sort of that practice that was a little more commonplace in British things. I don't want to. I don't. I feel like I'm talking out of my ass a little bit, but it seems like that was something that was a little bit more commonplace about the concept of keeping a bloodline pure in, in older times. And I think that this was I would what I read out of it was a condemnation of that type of practice, and that with that, there comes a price, and your family will be broken apart because of that, which I think is sort of a silly thing for Edgar Allan Poe to do, basically because of how he loved his cousin. Maybe he was working through some things at that time. Whatever, I don't know what he is doing. And that's another one. That's another thing that you could say, is that he was also like working through some sexuality, because there is some things that it could be that he was, if that okay, I don't know if that's necessarily true, but remember, they can't hear you. You could be in the chat typing these things. Anyway, he was saying that it was a thing on sexuality, in that Roderick seems to be gay and is gay for MC, and MC is gaying with him too, and that his wife, which was his sister, came back and killed him for it. So it was a condemnation on homosexuality. Possible, I don't know, but I think it was more of the traits and things that were commonplace in very wealthy families, in the dynastic type of family structures that we would see in those types in that time, and that it is a breakdown of family and stuff like that. So it goes from that into actually like talking about nature, because we have a natural biological reason for why this is happening, and it's not the incest stuff really isn't in this version. It doesn't seem to be. I don't remember it, at least. It's just, instead it is talking about ecological things to think about, nature and preserving nature, and what happens if you aren't stewards to the land that you're on. And that's basically where that went. So the theming changed quite significantly, I would say. Um it does add this really interesting fictional setting, and that adds so much background and coolness to the characters that we didn't see any background with the characters in the original. You didn't really know who they were or where they came from. A lot of it had to be inferred. But I really think that that was really cool that they had this. And then I think that the tone is so noticeably Kingfisher's style, that Alex is a very traditional, like, Kingfisher character, which if you've never read a Kingfisher novel, you don't really feel, but like Kingfisher has a very sarcastic, tongue-in-cheek way of writing people, and their tone of voice is so evident in their writing. It really shifts it to a really interesting place. So, let me pull that up. We're going to start the grading process of what moves the dead. Has anybody read this one? I know that we were talking about it a little bit before, and some of you were like, oh, I want to read this one. And then there's other people in here who shall be remain nameless, that I have been trying to get to read it for a very long time, and they did not yet. But they should. Yeah, I see your little dancing cats. I see your little dancing cats. I see them. Okay. So adherence to the spirit of the source text. Let's see. What do I think here? Yeah, you should put it on your want to read list. Let's go. These need to go into your piles. They will be at your library, I swear. And there's 2 more installments after this. And they're both also fun and good. But I think this one's actually the best one. The next one's okay. The last one that I just read was weird, but fun. We'll talk about that at the end of the month, because I read it like 3 books ago. So adherence to the spirit of the source text. I think that this one does it pretty well. Let's go back to see what my rubric says. Jinx. This is, pay attention. Pay attention to the class. The book remains faithful to the overall vibe of the source, using similar settings, character names, and themes to tell their version of the same story. Books use similar themes, but the version of the story they tell is far removed from the original text. I think it wouldn't be 4. I think that we're actually really at a 5 at this point, because the only thing that they really changed was the setting, but even the physical setting is still at a estate house that is owned by a wealthy family that is covered in a whole lot of mushrooms and stuff that is falling apart in some way. So I think that they get a 5 for that. The story the story element development also is pretty good, I think, because like I said, I think that the biggest thing that they changed in this, like they took the concept of like the family and like really added to it by giving them more of a background, they gave the characters actual lives. They made the characters much fuller, so that they weren't just these empty shells for concepts of anxiety, of dread, of fear, and they became actual real human beings. So I think you guys are very distracting. You guys are very distracting. Are we not having fun with this? I thought it would be fun. I'm sorry. It is fun. It is fun. We are having fun. We're not having fun. We can do something else. I just thought it would be fun. This is fun. Okay, this is fun. I'm just checking. Because if we can pull up a game. We can pull up a game. I don't mind. You're making the in jokes. I just want to make sure. I'm sensitive and I don't know what I'm doing. But the story of the elements development, I think that they did a really good job of this, because the characters became fully fleshed out. But it's still Madeline and Roderick. Usher, MC now has a name and is a whole human being with thoughts, opinions, and a history and stuff like that. And I think that that's really cool. So again, they get a 5. I blame Jinx. And then the unique vision and interpretations of the source text. So for me, I think that the biggest thing that they did is they shifted the theme of this book to be less about family breakdown and weird incest stuff to be about ecological things. And I think that there's like some little bit about like relationship between humanity and nature is kind of in here, and I think that that's really cool. Let me go back again. I'm gonna go back because I don't know what I think about that one. Unique interpretation. So it is like a unique interpretation. I'm just not sure if this is also a 5. The rabbits is interesting, yeah. Also, when Angus tries to go fishing, and the fish are also all full of the fungus, which is kind of interesting too. Also, the fucking lake is glowing. The lake is glowing at night sometimes, like in pulsating glow. Like, it reminds me of radioactive, like, Simpsons humor. I would say it's not, the adaptation doesn't fail to be unique. I think it is unique. I don't know if I think the storytelling doesn't rely on tropes and cliches, so not a 3. The source material is evident, but the story shifted too far away from the original elements to be recognizable. No, I wouldn't say that either. But I guess it's another 5. I don't know. There's like a part of me that wants to throw it into a 4 because I don't think that the interpretations are different enough. I think that the only thing that they really did well was they shifted it. So, I don't know. We'll throw them a 5 anyway, because even if we gave them a 4, it would not do anything. And pizzazz. Do I want to give this book a hug? Yes, I do. So that is them a perfect score of a 20. What are you doing? A perfect score of a 20 out of 20. Yay! A plus. A plus for you. Do they have that? Building block. Web. Let's see. A plus. A minus? No. A plus. Let's see if they got one. Yeah. There we go. A plus. I'm gonna put it on here. Yeah. A plus for What Moves the Dead. This is really like just a really good example of an adaptation. Sort of a perfect example of an adaptation. I think they could have gone harder with some of the interpretations. But again, this is a really short book. It's less than 200 pages, so there wasn't a lot of room for things. Yeah, good job, T. Kingfisher. We love you. There's a lot of room to like really delve in too deeply with some of it. So I think that it was a pretty good, especially it was a really good one for a novella length one. We're gonna go into a novel length one now, though, with the next one, which was Mexican Gothic by Silvia Moreno Garcia. Let me see how we are doing with ads though, because we might be getting close. We might need to take a break for another ad. We don't end up in the same boat where I lose my place and we accidentally go, yeah, we're gonna do that. We're gonna take an ad break, friends. Who's prepared for their ad break? That'll be a lot better than us trying to like get into it and then be interrupted halfway through and then Callie loses her place completely. But Mexican Gothic is our next one. Here we go. Ads. Take the time to go get yourself a drink, maybe a snacky snack. I know I myself am doing pretty good with that. Oh yeah, let's see how Biru does with their ads. Biru always gets like 2, maybe 3 ads and is back in like 30 seconds. I don't know where Biru lives, but Jesus, where do you live? that just does not have a lot of ad options because I'm gonna set my VPN to there. Oh yeah, we're moving to Finland, people. I'm pretty sure it's hard. Isn't it hard to move to Finland? Also, there's no way I could learn Finnish. Finnish? What do you speak? Oh my god. Americans should just never open their mouths. Oh my god. What's going on? What is happening on my phone right now? See, I was right. It was Finnish. I'm not an idiot. Hooray! Not with that one, at least. Yeah, I don't think I could ever learn Finnish. Are there a lot of English speakers, though? There's not a lot of English speakers here in, like, my, like, little village in France. It's easy to learn? Well, okay, maybe I'll try. I don't understand why you're not getting ads either, but that's okay. It says my ad break will end in 42 seconds. So we're just gonna chill in case somebody is in ads. And we don't have to worry about it breaking. We don't have to worry about it breaking then later. Hopefully. Please, internet, don't die on me. Please, internet, don't die on me. Yeah, it happens sometimes. Sometimes it doesn't want to give you ads, and that's fine. We're fine. It's fine. No, don't reboot the thing. I'm just saying that it's raining right now, so you never know. So you never know. Alright. Anybody who maybe did get ads should be back now. So I can focus on Mexican Gothic. So Silvia Moreno Garcia is one we've read before. We've talked about her a couple of times now. I can't remember if we did last month or not, but like, you know, Silver Nitrate, there's this one, and then there's also recently I read, I think it's called The Bewitching, which was also very good. But we either talked about that last month or we're going to talk about it this month. I can't remember when I read it. They all are a blur by now. I don't know what's going on. So let's take a look at what Storygraph has to say about Mexican Gothic again. I know we've done this before. So, from the award-winning... Okay, we don't need to read this, but it is a 1950s setting in Mexico. When glamorous socialite Noemi Taboada receives a frantic letter from her newlywed cousin begging to be rescued from a mysterious doom, it's clear something is desperately amiss. Catalina has always had a flair for the dramatic, but her claims that her husband is poisoning her and her visions of restless ghosts seems remarkable, even for her. Noemi's chic gowns and perfect lipstick are more suited to cocktail parties than amateur sleuthing, but she immediately hides to High Place, in a remote mansion in the Mexican countryside, determined to discover what is so affecting her cousin. Tough and smart, she possesses an indomitable will, and she is not afraid, not of her cousin's new husband, who is both menacing and alluring, not of his father, the ancient patriarch, who seems to be fascinated by Noemi, and not of the house itself, which begins to invade Noemi's dreams with visions of blood and doom. Her only ally in the inhospitable abode is the family's youngest son. Shy and gentle, he seems to want to help, but might also be hiding dark knowledge of his family's past. For there are many secrets behind the walls of High Place. The family's once colossal wealth and faded mining empire kept them from prying eyes, but as Noemi digs deeper, she unearths stories of violence and madness. And Noemi, mesmerized by the terrifying yet seductive world of High Place, may soon find it's impossible to leave this enigmatic house behind. Yeah, that's pretty good. That's a pretty good description of that book. I love that it calls it claustrophobic horror here because it does do that, but I think that's also something that the original text does as well. Let's go here. Yeah. So, this one is a really interesting in that it does shift a lot of the things that happen in the book. And like for one thing, we have vastly different characters. By are the ushers. Instead, we have God, what is their name? Are they the ushers? They might not be the ushers. In Mexican Gothic. Doyle, that's right. It's the Doyles. So it's the Doyle house instead of the Ushers. We're not in the 1800s of some sort. We're in 1950. We've moved from it happening somewhere European, probably the UK, to it now being held in Mexico. I feel like a lot of prose works can be described as claustrophobic. I would agree with that. Especially, but like the claustrophobic dread of it is sort of just like it feels to be that's what I mean by oppressive too. It's like pressing in on you, and you can like feel like you're about to like be squashed, or you're gonna have to break free at some point. There's like mounting pressure, and I would say that is happening in both works. It's smothering, exactly. So trying to remember if I think Francis. Give me a second. I can't remember who everybody is. Yeah, Francis is the youngest son that was talked about. Howard is the patriarch who is kind of creepy. Virgil then is Catalina's husband. Right. Okay. Easy to remember now. So yeah, we start off with Noemi, and Noemi is just like this party girl, and she doesn't really have interest to do what her father wants her to do. She's from Mexico City. She's wealthy, and she wants to go to parties, play around, flirt with men. Not really interested in getting married and settling down right now. What she really, 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 really wants more than anything else in the world is to be allowed to go to university to study literature. And she has some sort of promise that if she goes to help Catalina and keeps this kind of hush hush and like figures out what was going on there, then she'll get the tuition money to go to university, which is basically the reason why she agrees to go. She also likes Catalina. She's like, you know, friendly with her cousin. But I guess her cousin met this guy. He's white and he was apparently kind of weird, and her I don't know if her parents are dead or not in the picture, but for some reason her father has a lot to do with it. And so she's with Catalina, and he's like upset that she got married to this guy because he doesn't think that it's a good match. He doesn't want to be involved with that family. A white guy being a weirdo, right? He is weird, but like, and but the romance seemed to be like really quick and didn't involve the family very much, and so Noemi's father is not happy about it. And so now there's this letter that has been sent to them, which is similar to what happened in the main story, but it was, I can't remember if the letter was sent to Noemi or Noemi's father, but Noemi's father has it and is saying, "Hey, something bad is happening. I need help. Please help me. I think my husband is poisoning me." And the father's like, "Can you guys tell when I'm looking up at my husband?" Oh my god. He's just like, I know I'm a bad cook, but come on. God damn it. Anyway. But this guy has special genes too. Yeah, Levi's. Um, where was I? Yeah, no, she's saying that she's being poisoned. So Noemi's father is like, we can't have this being a thing because it will tarnish the family's name. I need you, Noemi, to go and handle this quietly and see if she's just exaggerating, because it's a thing that she does. She's kind of an exaggerator, and either like smooth things over, or you know, we will bring her in if we need to, but we need this all to be very hush hush, and that's why I can't go and make a big noise, and so I need you to do this. And if you do, I will send you to university. Okay? And then she's like, okay, cool. So that's why she's going. And when she gets there, the house is kind of creepy in that there is an oppressive gloom that's happening in there like the other ones, but it doesn't seem to be in total disrepair. It's just not great. It's not what you would expect from that area of Mexico. And part of the reason why is because when the Doyle family moved there and they built High Place is because they imported all of the building material from their European home. They imported even the soil from their European home, and they imported a lot of other things, people, family practices from their European home. So the incest is a really big one in this one. The incest is a real big one in this one. Why do I feel like that's vampire behavior? Invasive species about to be everywhere. Yeah, so it's really weird. And more than that, Noemi does not feel very welcomed. It's like they don't like her exactly. And white people with real big red flags, and then white people being like not very hospitable to the Mexican girl who comes to check in on her cousin. Also not a great look, to be perfectly honest. And the only person who's actually kind of nice to her is Francis, who is the youngest son. He's Howard's he he's Florence's son. I can't remember who Florence is. Florence is Howard's niece. I don't know how she's related exactly. Hold on. I don't remember. Okay, so Howard is the patriarch, and so I think it's his brother's daughter, and so Francis is his nephew, right? And so he's cousins to Virgil. This family tree is fucked up, um, and very straight liney again. Like having to sleep on their home soil. Yeah, it is a vampire thing. That is a vampire thing. But I think that this was more of a white supremacy thing, because even so again, our good friend Naomi is not um very welcomed, even when she tries to visit Catalina, which is what she's fucking there to do. Family telephone pole. Yeah. Okay, she's trying to visit Catalina, and so Florence is there, who is the niece, and she's not she's very protective over Catalina, and like acts like, "Oh, you can't go see her whenever you want to. I'm taking care of her, and you can't just visit her whenever you want. She has to get her rest. She is ill, and she is not doing well." And they say that she's just taken some sort of illness, and they have doctors who are coming in. They have even imported their doctors. They do not trust the village doctor to handle it, and will not let anybody from the village actually go on the grounds of High Place. And during some of Noemi's wanderings through the mansion and stuff like that, she goes into the um library, where she's also like not really allowed to be, sort of. It sort of like feels like, I think Virgil or one of the other men of the house is like, "What are you doing here?" It could have been Florence too, because Florence is very like, "What are you doing? Stop looking around, stop looking at our stuff. You don't deserve to be here," is kind of the air that she sort of has about it. And like she seems kind of secretive. Everybody seems sort of like pushing her away and being upset that she's there. But when she's looking around in this library, she finds some like writings and journals and books about eugenics, and the whole purity of bloodlines and stuff like that. And she's able to, like, she looks at some of the portraiture of the house, and that's like notices the line, the bloodline, the Doyle bloodline is definitely um telephone poley. And then she like sees that, but there's like a lot of stuff about eugenics and stuff like that. And she is like, "What the fuck is going on here?" And she tries to she says that she's going to be spending like the summer there, basically, to be there with her. Why marry someone outside the bloodline then? Exactly. We'll get to that. Um so but she leaves um the grounds occasionally to go down into the village in order to send she says to send letters to her father to reassure him of everything that's going on. And if she doesn't send the letters, then he will send somebody else to see what's going on. So that's why they kind of let her go. And Francis is the one who helps take her and like drives her and stuff like that. And he's like, he keeps on being like, girl, get the fuck out of here. Just leave. It is not good here. Please leave. I don't want anything to happen to you. And she's like, what do you mean happened to me? And he's like, I don't know, just bad stuff happens here. It's not great. Please leave. And she's even starting to like feel anxiety and feel she's having like weird dreams about people. She feels like she's seeing ghosts as well, which is something that Catalina also said was happening to her, and she doesn't really know what's going on. But she goes into the village a couple of times and she meets the people around there, and she meets the doctor because she's upset that the doctor who they have imported in is the only one who's seeing her, and she thinks that there's some sort of mental issue going on. And so she's like, okay, I will go to this doctor then, and we'll go to the village doctor and be like, we need a second opinion. If I can get somebody to say that she's mentally unwell, maybe I can get her help. And that this is not like a physical thing, it's a mental thing, because the doctor that they're working on is like only working on a physical ailment, and says that she's mentally fine, even though she's acting really weird. So, yeah, that's what's going on. And she also gets pointed out to like a sort of medicine woman who Catalina had been seeing. Catalina told her that she had seen this woman and that she had asked for some sort of tincture to help her with sleeping because she was having sleeping problems and nightmares and stuff like that. And it's the only thing that's going to give her the rest that she needs, and she needs it. So can you please go see the woman? And so she goes to the woman and she gets some background on the Doyle family. So the Doyle family moved there because they own a silver mine, and silver mining is a big thing in Mexico. So, but the mine itself is pretty much dried out, and the village around them is sort of dying out, and there seemed to have been some sort of big catastrophic thing that happened, and that seems to have destroyed the economy of the silver mine and the surrounding village. But the Doyles refuse to let go of any sort of power that they have and are sort of like death clinging to it. So I don't really know, but like there is some sort of idea that like they need to bring other people in because they need money. But also there's some other things that they're thinking might be happening. So that's something that Noemi also thinks is like, well, maybe they tried to marry Catalina in order to get to money because the mine is failing and they want to remain powerful there. But she's able to get this tincture thing for her cousin. She brings it in secretly. She gives it to her cousin, and her cousin has a violent like seizure after she takes it. And they all blame her and say that it's her fault. And she doesn't die or anything from it, but she doesn't understand why. And she's also taken it and she had been fine. So the tincture wasn't the problem, but something in it was reacting badly. This instead of, let me see, how do we say this? The family seems to be all sort of like stuck there. The reason being is because of a fungus that is on the land. And Francis finally lets her in on it a little bit and is like, we're stuck here because we rely on it. it's a symbiotic relationship between a fungus that is on the land and them. And it gets really weird. It's really weird and interesting. So, let's go on to some of the background things. They're broke because they keep importing everything. Tariffs, man. What are you gonna do? So this one was interesting because it also answers how the family gets into the situation that they're in with the rot and the fungal growth and everything through a biological answer. It's fungus again, but this time, instead of it just being something that happens, it being something that infected the tarn, for example, this time it is something that they have chosen to do, that they did to themselves, because it's a means for colonial power. So it turns the theme from decay of family to be about it's this concept of white supremacy as decay, which I thought was really cool. And then it moves our setting to Mexico at the dead mining town. We're now in the 1950s. There's mold and rot going on, and there's also family breakdown, but it's explored and built upon by turning it into this concept of white supremacy and eugenics and things like that. And I don't know, I thought that was really interesting and fun and cool. And also there's like also some they talk a little bit about gender roles, about how Noemi doesn't want to be this typical married wife and mother that she's expected to become. She wants to be some sort of scholar and what she's expected to do. But then also we get even further into it. I'm trying not to give too much away again, but like the reason why Howard says that they decided that they needed to bring in to marry outside of the family was because occasionally what you'll see happen when you try to keep the bloodlines too pure is that illness will pervade, and so you have to diversify the bloodline every once in a while, but only certain people can be added into the family, and so they need to that's why they decided to not inbreed. Yeah, they become inbreded. Exactly. So they're trying to diversify the bloodline is one of the reasons Howard says is why Catalina was brought into the family. That's all I'm gonna say about it though, because it's super fucked up. It's so fucked up. And there are some vampire vibes, and there are ghosts and things like that. And there's this whole cool history with the it goes deep, man. This also, you know, you get fucked up jaws and noses. Yes, the Hasbrook jaw. I'm just making sure I didn't miss anything from my notes. I did not. I think we're in a really good thing. I think we're in a good position then to move on to grading. Yeah, because it's 5 o'clock now. We still got one more to go. So I think we're in a good position to grade again. Wait, no. Let me see. Let me see one more thing. Let me see one more thing. Oh, yeah, we're doing great. We're doing great on time. We're doing great. She says 1,000 times. So adherence to the spirit of the source text. Let's think about this. So we have house. We have family. Family is a little bit different though. If we go back, no, I'm in the wrong thing again. We go back to the first one. I said the book remains faithful to similar setting, character names, themes, and versions of this to tell their version of the story. So the characters are different in this one because we move from the Ushers to the Doyles, but I don't think that that is that different. There also is there's a sick person, but it's not Madeline. It's not from the Doyle family. Technically, it's a married in person who is part of her family. I do think that it falls in with the spirit of the text, though, but a lot of it is very different. So I think that it actually will probably throw it a 4 because it's a version of the story, and you can see which characters are falling in to the roles that the heck, I just itched my nose. Yeah, you see where it's falling in, but like, and it's similar enough, but it's this is not the fall of the House of Usher. There's no even Ushers in this one. You should read it. So I think that this one we'll give it a 4. Not necessarily that that's a bad thing. I think that it's still very well within the spirit of the source text. And the reason why that is happening is because the story element development. Well, actually more of the interpretations and the vision. Well, maybe they do. I don't know. So story element development. Right now, this one is more like the elements that were in the original text, how those ones got developed into something more significant is really what we're looking for here. And then the interpretations is what was added that was new. So, what was in this that was in the original? We do have a family. We have the incest implications. We have the house itself as the symbol of the family and the rot within. You're making oh, you're crocheting pumpkins. I remember now. You'd have to show us. The family is different. The family setup is different. And who the people are and the reasons why they're coming in are quite different too. To the point where it's not developed upon, but completely shifted. Not necessarily a bad thing. The books in the library. That was the last one. This one has books in the library, but she's not allowed to touch. And then like there's things, the reason why is because there's like notes and stuff from people, and she's able to like dive deeper into like the history. A much larger cast. Yeah. Huge. Story element development. Let's go back. I can't remember exactly what I said for this. That is, setting atmosphere of the books and themes are recognizable to the original text, but have been developed into something fitting the author's style, adding richness, personality to the adaptation. Are changed to fit the author, little resemblance of the original text. Personality of the author is still strong and adds richness to the text. I'm in between a 5 and a 4 with this one. The only reason why is because it is so different from it, but I think that they slot well. You know what I mean? Like, we know that just because it's not the Usher estate or the Ushers at all, you know that the Doyles are the Ushers. You know that High Place is the house. You know that Noemi is the narrator. You know that Catalina falls into the slot of Madeline Usher. You know that Roderick is exemplified from both forget their names. Virgil Virgil and the other one because they're both in it. And give me a second. Virgil and Francis. Yeah, Francis is also it because Francis is nice and Roderick wasn't necessarily a bad person. Um but they both slot into that both pretty well. And then yeah, Howard then the patriarch is something that's completely different. But everything slots well into what was in the original elements, but were expounded upon to fit the style of the book and everything like that. So no, I'm giving it a 5. I'm giving it a 5. It's sort of a 4 because it's not completely, there's added things, but I feel like they are recognizable for what they're supposed to be in the original text. And then unique vision and interpretations of the source text. Oh boy, there's a lot in this one. I want to see what I said would be a 5 though, because I would say that this is super good in that the adaptation takes the source material and makes it their own with added unique interpretations that make the adaptation unique. Like there's a lot of added information, added stuff into this. But does it and then I would say the 4 would be that it shifts too far away from the original elements. And then a 3 would be that it doesn't have enough interpretation. Okay. So that then is definitely a 5. Because I don't think that this is unrecognizable. I think that when you read it, you know what it was meant to be, but it really takes like what was there and it shifts it to something new. So we have the whole history of the family is different. The family itself is different, but and then it has this interpretation of white supremacy being wrought, which I think was really cool. And then pizzazz. Do I love this book? Yeah. I'd give it a hug. I'd give it 100 hugs. I wish this was on my shelf now. So then that one gives us. What are you doing? That one means that this one is a 19 out of 20, which is an A. An A this time. We just get an A. Just see what yeah. These are A pluses. I want a regular A. I want a regular A. No. All of these are bad. That's the better grade than you would get at school. I don't know if that's true. I don't know if that's right. Here, this guy has a regular A. He's dancing. We'll let him tell us what they got. There you go. Mexican Gothic, you got an A. This is a regular grade for me. Moving on then. Next we're gonna talk about Usher's Passing by Robert R. McCammon. And I'm going to see you got an A in art in my stupid people math class. Stupid people math class. I know, I love this cover. The other cover that they have is really boring. Is this one? I hate this cover. The regular this cover is so good. This is probably like the original cover. And this is what they did with the new stuff. And I hate new stuff. I love it. Yeah, me too. Let's see. Where are we with time? Where are we with the time? We're in another position. So it is time for more ads. I'm sorry, guys. We're gonna do another ad. You guys might not get them again. Let's see what happens. Ooh, ooh, ooh. I got my back to crack. That's great. I'm gonna run another ad, that way we don't get interrupted midway through. Let's see if you guys get them. You may not. Instead, we'll just hang out and talk about candy. No? We can talk about that cover more. Yeah, here it is. Yeah, I love the 80s style ones a lot more than what they tried to do with the other thing. I think that some of the ways that they tried to I don't want to say sanitize, but like simplify. They tried to simplify a lot of covers in the beginning, or in recent years, and I just don't think that they're as fun. This one's really telling of what's actually happening in this book too. That, you know, you got these kind of like weird cat eye things going on. Have I seen the Stan's original cover? I don't think so. I don't think so. Let me see. Original. I'm not sure if these are the originals, but this is saying that it is. Oh, a man. Yeah, that is what it is. Hmm. This one. It does not have anything to do with it. Yeah, a lot of you aren't. It doesn't seem like. That's okay though. Weird. Weird. It's a scythe, yeah. I'm just trying to find the thing, which I don't think it's gonna have. That's fine. It won't be in this, I don't think. Let me grab my thing. I wrote. So Usher's passing is a big one. More of a metaphor in the story than an event. Okay. I haven't actually read The Stand. I'm gonna pull this up because it'll help me. It's gonna help me. Alright. Maybe. I don't know. We'll see. So this one's a huge book. Let's go to here. It's hard to read post-COVID. That makes sense. Okay. Usher's passing. Robert R. McCammon. We have talked about this guy before. Because we read this last month too. He's the guy who wrote Swan Song. And so this is another really, not like huge book, but it's 410 pages, which I think is kind of impressive that the original text was like, you know, maybe 36, 40 pages long. And we moved on to a story that was at least inspired by it. Um, and it is now 410 pages. So, the way that I described this before was okay, follow the House of Usher, but make it secession. And that's what we have going on here. So, this is the description that they give us. In this most gothic of Robert McCannon's novels, setting is key. The continuing saga of the Usher family, descended from the brother of Roderick and Madeline of Edgar Allan Poe's The Fall of the House of Usher, takes place in a weird and picturesque heart of North Carolina mountains. The haughty aristocratic Ushers live in a mansion near Asheville. The poor but crafty mountain folk, whose families are just as ancient, live in Briartop Mountain nearby. At harvest time, when the book's action unfolds, the mountains are in a blaze of colors. Add to the mixture of a sinister history of mountain kids disappearing every year, a journalist investigating those disappearances, a monster called the Pumpkin Man, moldy books and paintings in a huge old library at the Usher's estate, and a secret chamber with a strange device involving a brass pendulum and tuning forks. And you've got a splendid recipe for atmospheric horror. And this was originally published in 1984. Yeah. Honestly, this is a very difficult one to summarize, which is why I brought up my notes about it. It was such a sprawling and like intricate story that I don't know, it's really difficult to it's a difficult one. She's a doozy. She's a doozy, this one. So I immediately tried to like write down what happened in the book after reading it because I knew I would forget a lot of it. And it's a continue instead of it being a complete one-to-one adaptation of The Fall of the House of Usher, it's supposed to be sort of like a continuation of it. So much so that like the first scene in the book is like this rough and tough guy coming like stalking Edgar Allan Poe and finding him in some tavern and like questioning him about like what did you write this about, why did you write real things that happened to my family, and it was really hard to read that the thing that happened to my family that you for some reason turned into this fictional thing. And he's like, bro, I just wrote it, I didn't know that it was a real thing that happened. I just wrote I just came up with it. It wasn't a thing, something, I don't know, it was really weird. And it was just like, okay, what the heck. And so this is supposed to be the brother. No, he doesn't kill him. He lets him off because he is convinced that the guy didn't actually know anything. But this is the brother of Roderick, who I can't remember what his name is supposed to be. But we might have just read it. Again, I'm on painkillers, so but yeah, it's the brother of Roderick who did that, and so now it's the line that is continuing from him. And we move to what is present time, which for this book was in the 1980s, and we are introduced to Rix Usher. That is Rix, Rix Usher, and he is an author. Gave me some Stephen King vibes, obviously, because Stephen King always makes his main characters authors. But Rix Usher is an author of horror novels. No, he does not want to fuck his sister, thankfully. That is not a thing in this one. Thank God. had enough incest for one person to deal with of all of these. He actually was married to a woman um who he was very deeply in love with, and suddenly, out of nowhere, she commits suicide, and he has no idea why. He's like, what the fuck? Like, she showed no signs of wanting to commit suicide. And, you know, that happens sometimes. It's really hard for some people to deal with. But she didn't even seem to be dealing with any type of depression. Like, it just sort of came out of nowhere for him. He's having a hard time, like, dealing with that. And so he's trying to write his next book. He's trying to get back into work. And he's just struggling really hard with it because he's dealing with his grief and everything like that. And he just, like, feels like he's lost his spark. He has this idea for a story, but something is blocking him with it. And he doesn't really, like, the idea of it is really just, like, a vision of a concept of, like, bodies hanging from the ceiling or something. Just there being bodies. But it's really confusing, and he doesn't really have a full fleshed out whatever, but he wants to write this. He's very compelled to write it, but he doesn't know what it is. And he's confused. And he's doing some media stuff, and he comes back to his house in sort of an anxiety spiral, which is something that apparently happens to him in his family. Like, his siblings all have this, and his father does too. And it's like a strange ailment that only curses people from this family. They call it, like, the Usher's illness, because it doesn't really do it to anybody else. And it's sort of like this, like, ADHD. So, I mean, sort of. It basically, external, like, it's sort of like being overstimulated, because external stimuli becomes super, super loud, lights become really, really hot, bright, and they have to, like, go into a dark room in order for it to, like, pass. And yeah, it really does sound, they're just neurodivergent. It's like, guys, you think you're special, but you're really just neurodivergent. No curse here, just spicy brain chemicals going on. But I think it goes even deeper than that, and I don't really fully. It ages you. They seem to age, like, really fast too, unless they're at home, and eventually it will kill them. But doctors don't really understand what it is. They don't know what's causing it. Are very confused by it. It is more than that, but the way that he describes it, it really does just sound like it really does just sound like having, like, neurodivergent being overwhelmed by being overstimulated and like saying it out loud. Yeah, just get this bitch a fidget toy and he'll be fine. And then he tries to go into his like, dark room to try to, like, chill, but what ends up happening is he opens up the door to his dark room and a skeleton pops out, which is funny because it is a closet. And it's because his brother, like, came in, and his brother is Boone. Boone Usher comes and sticks the Halloween, yeah, it's a Halloween decoration they did to try to prank his brother, because Boone is kind of like a fuckboy, dumbass, stupid guy who is like, here's the thing that I'll do to greet my brother who is sort of estranged from the family. I'm going to stick a skeleton in his closet to scare him and prank him. But that's Boone for ya. The skeleton war starts now, yeah. Um, and he comes to deliver the news that their father, Waylon Usher, is dying, and that he's basically being asked to please come home to visit before his father dies. But Rix actually really hates his family, and doesn't want anything to do with them. The family has this big business. It's called Usher Armament. They make weapons of war, and some of them are a little bit weird, and they, because of the Ushers being around, they you know are responsible for the deaths of thousands and thousands of people. But now that his father is dying, he decides to go back to see his father just the one last time. And yeah, so that's basically how the story is connected, but or how the story starts. But what ends up happening is we actually have what I would consider three stories that are connected. One is the Ushers through their past, from Roderick and Madeline to the present. And then the next is Briartop Mountain, which we just talked before, which is the village that is nearby the Usher's land, which they call Usher Land, which is dumb, but that's what it's called. And but Briar Mountain, there's a story going on there. There's these mythical characters that sort of like monsters called Greedy Guts, which is like some sort of mountain lion monster. The Pumpkin Man who stalks children and kidnaps them. And there are actual disappearing children who disappear every harvest year. And there's also magical roots. There's like wizard battles in the history of the mountain village. So 3 stories. We have the Ushers, Briartop Mountain, and everything going on there, and then Rick's Usher himself and what's going on with him and his conflict with his family. So I don't know how to like really go. Let me see how far I go with this. Yeah, I think we're good. I think we're good. We can kind of like develop into this. So Usher's in their past. There's a lot going on there. So we know that Madeline and Roderick are real. We have all that happened with that. But we, oh, it was Hudson Usher was the brother. He continued the family line, probably still doing some of the incesty things, but we eventually get to this thing where they are basically the most wealthy family in the United States. And they have because of the weapons manufacturing. They are dynastic in that way. So they're kind of like the Trump family is what I kept on picturing when I read it. But again, like I said, it's like secession, so we have this family thing happening. And it's been going on for generations and generations right now. They're established on that land called Usher Land. And the one unique thing that I think that they did was that instead of it being the house that is like rotting and stuff like that, it's been moved into this boarded up like hunting lodge on the estate, like on the land. And the lodge is
somewhat feared by the family, but mostly by Rix, because Rix one time got, as a child, was lost inside of the hunting lodge for 2 days and could not find his way out. And the only way that he's able, like, the hunting lodge becomes like a maze, and the rooms sort of shift and change, and it's difficult to navigate. He's only able to get out because of Edwin, who is kind of like the servant of the estate. He's a longtime friend. He's the head of service at the estate. And it's the only reason he only likes Edwin. Edwin and Cass is his are the Bodwins. Bodane. The Bodane, and they have a Bodane must always be in service. And that was what I was just going to get to, is that it is a little bit reminiscent of the Winchester Mystery House, in that it is confusing and fucking haunted. At least that's the way that it's done. And the family, yeah. Also because of the fact that they are Usher armament, and they are responsible for a lot of deaths of people. The idea is that they are cursed because of that, which is the same as the Winchester Mystery House lore, in that Sarah Winchester believed that the Winchester family was cursed because they made the Winchester rifles, which are responsible for deaths and killed people. Yeah, I made that connection too. But this family also seems to be cursed. The Ushers are cursed in that way because the family has a long line of tragedy, insanity, and death. It stems from this Usher's malady situation that we've talked about. It's this family ailment. It's marked by periodic movements of increased sensitivity to sound and light, and it over time will last for longer and longer periods of times, which leads to madness. Again, I agree. We just need to give them some fidget toys and they probably will be fine. It seems to cause some internal mutations, which increases aging, and the body eventually starts to destroy itself, rotting it from the inside out. Wayland swears that the symptoms of the disease are worse the longer the Usher spends time away from the estate, and that's where that's coming from. It's like I guess an autoimmune disease is sort of similar. Yeah, that's what they're going from, but they don't know what causes it, and they also won't let they refuse to go to doctors to let the doctors examine it, or like Waylon refuses to go to the hospital and he's dying. So that's what's going on in the present. Briartop Mountain storyline is much more complex. It's a mountain that overlooks Usherland. And there's a small community up there, and they're very poverty-stricken people. And we get introduced to them by these two children, Newman Thorpe and his brother Nathan. They're collecting berries one day and trying to get home before dark. And they talk about these monsters, or kind of like cryptids that exist on the mountain. Greedy Guts, the mountain lion-esque monster that is black. I don't know. And then the Pumpkin Man and this guy who is the Mountain King. There's like they seem like mythological creatures that exist in their culture. So there's Greedy Guts, who is this murderous black large cat. Rumors suggest that he's a deranged zoo animal that escaped from the Usherland Zoo, because that apparently existed on the Usher's land for a while. One of the previous heirs decided to like basically bomb it one time and just let all of the animals escape. The cat is super intelligent and seems to track, hunt, and kill specific people, though. The Pumpkin Man is sort of like a boogeyman type character that the mountain folk absolutely agree with. Like they believe in this guy. Greedy Guts is kind of like a story they tell each other, and maybe you don't believe it, but people believe in the Pumpkin Man. He takes the children from the mountain. They think that once the Pumpkin Man sets his sight on a child, there's really nothing you can do to, and you have to basically let him have them. They don't report the missing children, and they barely make an effort to find them. They believe if they did try to make more of an effort to stop him, that it would make things much worse than it already is. So when one of these kids goes missing, they don't do anything to try to find him other than like look for him. The Mountain King is a half folklore, half actual person. He's this crazy old guy who lives on the mountain in the dilapidated ruins of a former town there. The town was destroyed by some like fire or something. It kind of looks like it was bombed. I wonder who would do that. I wonder who would bomb something. There were very little survivors, but the Mountain King and his sister survived. So then when we have the Thorpe kids, they're going back home. They are talking about the Pumpkin Man and Greedy Guts, and they're kind of afraid. It's getting dark though, and they run out of luck. And Nathan is taken. Stop it. Sorry, I have a barking dog. Nathan was taken while Newman, I think the older brother of the two, he goes by New. He falls into a pit of thorns. New is left to die, but he can see someone peeking down at the pit at him sometimes in the dark. Hope seems completely lost for him, but he ends up like harnessing some magical powers because he figures out that he can use magic, and he's able to get like a knife from another body that had fallen into this pit and died there. But boy has magic powers. He just does. When he gets home, and he's able to get home. And then later, the newspaper owner's daughter, Raven, hears about the missing kid and goes onto the mountain to investigate. New's mother won't let her talk to him, even though he wants to talk to her because he feels like they're not doing enough to find the missing boy. And she ends up getting a tip to go find the Mountain King, and she goes and investigates. But the night before, New and his mother are attacked by Greedy Guts. Oh my gosh, this is so confusing too. I'm sorry. And New uses his newly found magic powers to defeat him, and his mom is like, "The fuck, New? What's going on?" And he's like, "Don't know, Mom. I'm confused too." And she's like, "Yeah, your dad did kind of have magic powers, huh?" But then Raven visits the Mountain King at the same time New and his mom try to find the Mountain King, and the Mountain King is just weird. He's just weird, and he says that he killed New's father because New's father is somehow connected to the Ushers, and if he were to get onto Usherland and go into the lodge on the land, something would have shifted within him and he would have like turned into a bad guy or something like that. And he had been spending his whole life trying to resist the pull to go into the lodge, and and he was starting to lose the war against that, and so that's why the Mountain King killed him. Confusing, right? So they're somehow connected to them, and that's what's going on. And so now the Mountain King fears that the pool to Usher land is going to now affect New, and he needs to try to fight it. That's the story going on there. It's very confusing. But then we have Rick's Usher and his family. So again, they all have this malady. They and it's going to eventually kill them. I mean, that's what's happening to his father. He hates his father, though. He hates the company. He thinks that it's all wrong and awful, and is kind of like upset about it. But at the same time, like, he's not doing well because he spent a lot of time away from the Ushers in the family home. And so going back home actually rejuvenates him in some ways. The worst part, though, is that the longer he stays there, yeah, it makes him feel better. He stops, like, slowly rotting. And it, like, makes him look younger. He feels more full of energy and stuff like that. But also, the sounds of maybe inheriting the company and all of the wealth are starting to sound kind of good to him, and that's scaring him. But he still has animosity between himself and most of his family, but most of it is reserved for his father and his older brother, Boone. Because I get it. Boone is icky. I say Boone is icky. He lies, he cheats, he gambles, he thinks he's better than most people, and he's actually not good. And then there's his sister, who named Katerina. She's nice. She's fine. But she also is a really big drug addict. It's not that great. But the company, they between the three of them, the company has to be left with one of them. But so this is where the secession thing comes from. So there's only slightly more murder in this one, and I said it has some Agatha Christie vibes, which maybe isn't in Secession. But while he's there, Rix gets this idea that he needs to write this family history of the Ushers, and he, like, is the only thing that's really sparking his imagination. So he, like, wants to write this really, really badly. And everybody, he knows he can't tell the family that that's what he wants to write, because the family does not want their secrets out there. They don't want people to know about the malady. They don't want people to know that there's a lot of insanity and murder and bad stuff that has happened in their family history. They don't want people to know their secrets. So, but he's, like, really, like, he really feels like he needs to write this, and he becomes obsessed with it. And he's going behind his father's back. He's trying to find out, but then he figures out that the owner of the newspaper, so Raven's father, is already in the process of writing a family history. And it is so he's trying to get involved with that guy to be like, hey, let's work on this together. I can get you inside information because I am an Usher. And he, like, learns a bunch of crazy stuff about that. As he continues staying in the house, though, he just starts getting bad. Like, his anxieties get worse. He gets, like, really creeped out by the lodge that he can see from his bedroom window. But then he just becomes a more and more bad person. he gets greedy, he becomes self-righteous, he sees these things in himself at first, but I don't know, it takes him a while. He mostly questions it at the beginning, but then he stops questioning it so much. He starts seeing himself as the head of the family. He thinks about taking over the family business and how good that would be, and now he's starting to want it. And that was the background. I didn't even go into the climax stuff. This is how far I can go without giving anything away. That was a lot. Thank you for the hydrate, because goddamn, I needed it. So, like I said, complicated book. Complicated book with 3 distinct storylines. I feel like you could have each of these stories be their own book. They are interconnected though, and I think the way that he ties them together is really good. And they still have some. There's still like parts of the original in it. If we take out the Mountain King stuff and we focus on the Ushers and the family itself, I see a lot of the same condemnations that I feel like were in the original text. And a lot of these people can like step in to those original characters, but there's a lot going on with this. And I think that when this is called an adaptation of The Fall of the House of Usher, that's a little bit of a stretch. It's a good book, I think. I mean, I really liked it. I had fun reading it, but it is complicated. It is a twisty, crazy story with a lot of things going on, a ton of characters, and a lot of interrelated things. But I don't know. It's a little bit difficult. It definitely, it's sort of an adaptation, sort of, but it's hard to call it one a direct one, I would say. That being said, I still think it is a bit of an adaptation, because we even have, in the end, I don't want to give too much away, but the family disintegrates and the big scary evil house does indeed fall into a lake. Does that sound familiar to you? Big scary evil house does fall into a lake. So now we have, the setting is different. It moves us to North Carolina. It becomes a Southern Gothic horror. Instead of like that pure Gothic thing, which I think is fun. And then I think that the theme also is very different. It's not about the internal decay and breakdown of a family exactly, but it's more about decay of power and the ways in which greed shifts people, the destruction of a American dynasty. Why is my dog whining? I have a whiny, cryy dog. I don't know why. Here, baby. I just want to make sure I give you all of the things. All of the things. Okay, so this one, also the house is a little bit different too, because we had the symbol of. You hear that? You hear the way I'm being disrespected right now? The ways in which I'm being disrespected right now by a puppy? You hear that? Why am I being disrespected by the puppy? Lie down, Bubba. Why don't you come up here? I don't know why he's crying.
don't know why we're crying. Grumbles. He's not growling. Actually, he's partially howling. He's partially huskying at me. Hold on, I gotta make one more grade. I have to grade one more. Now he's slapping his sister in the face. Boy. Okay. Anyway, the symbol of the house, it moves away from this Mama, give me attention. Yeah, it does sort of sound like he was like, all right, wait a minute. It moves the house itself becomes more of this supernatural symbol of evil. And so like the evil exists in the family and it is rooted in the family and okay. And that evil is rooted in that house, moves into the family, and then like spreads even out into the surrounding areas, into the mountain village and everywhere else. So it is a haunting presence that is infecting the family. It's instead of being like a ghost, but it's still supernatural. That evil, it spreads out into the surrounding area. It has the monsters of the nearby village and the history of the magic users and the conflict going back to generations with them and the Usher family. And it's all tied into the idea of murder and greed and how these things are the most evil things, and that it's the heart of the family business, and it's literally feeding the family and sustaining them. And that is all encompassed into this idea of the Usher Lodge, which is like the big main symbol within the original text too of the Usher house. But instead of it being about decay and internal breakdown of family, it's like big time evil of a capital E. And it is crazy. It's crazy detailed. And then yeah. I think we're good. I think we got all the points. Sorry about that one. That one was really hard to do because it was so big. So let's go ahead and do the things. It is the adherence to the spirit of the source text. So that would be that everything is pretty much the same. Same characters, same sort of setting, but like at least like similar enough. And I would say that maybe this one does not do this so well. Let me see what our criteria was real quick before I do this. Because we're going to be in either a not bad or the what the fuck was that? The vibe is there, but that's about it. The characters are wildly different. There's not much from the original text here, but the inspiration is noticeable. That's sort of more true, because I think that we still have the family within the siblings. We have the narrator who turns into Rick's Usher. Is I feel like it's recognizable enough that you can see some of the ways that the elements that we have slotting in. So I'm gonna give it a 3. I don't know. Why don't you keep going? There we go. I'm gonna give it a 3. The story element development, though. So things that were in the original text that were developed upon. So the one thing that was really well developed was the concept of the house. But I think that that's basically it, because so much of it has changed
that you don't have much of a development with it, other than the family history could be well developed, because we have the family history of the 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 armament company. But I don't know if that would include Madeline and Roderick. I think we might do a 4 here, because I think it's like that was one of the ones that was like, it's pretty different. Let's see, what was 4? Story elements are almost entirely changed to fit the author. Yep, having little resemblance to the original text, but the personality of the author is still strong and adds richness to the text. Yes, I would agree with that. Yeah. That one's a 4. Unique vision and interpretation of the source text. Now, this one I think is different, because I do think there's. You need to stop. You need to calm down. There is a lot that is within this book that is in obvious interpretations of the source material. Things like the estate itself, things like the actual story of what happened, and the fact that it's a continuation of it, but also just like the ways in which the characters slot into original roles, into original ideas from it. But we're still like moving it into something, instead of talking about the decay of a family, really like going in on that condemnation of aristocratic families in by calling them incestuous, is the way that I interpret the what was a big condemnation in the original text. It's doing that, but going hard on it by being like, this is what greed does. Greed is evil. The most evil thing in the world is greed. And that is what Robert R. McCannon is saying with this. So, I think because of that, we're going to give him a 5 for that. And then pizzazz. Do I want to hug this book? Actually, I don't want to hug this book. I had so much fun reading it, though, and I really, really, really recommend it. But I don't know if I want this one. I can't imagine myself rereading it. Part of me, like, talking about it makes me go, ooh, yeah, that was fun. I would actually, like, going through that again. I guess I could reread it, but that doesn't mean I want to hug it. I don't know if I want to hug it. There's other McCammon ones that I think are better. Like, I really did love Swan Song, but it has that same sort of like his big thing in a lot of the stuff that I've noticed with him is that his bad guy is just evil. It's just evilness. So, because of that, we're going to give him a 4. So that's a can't 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 16? Fuck, we're gonna get a calculator because I can't do math in my head. I'm too high for this, y'all. We're gonna get a calculator. Fuck. Yeah, I did it right. Yeah, I was right. Never mind. I wasn't too high. So it is a 16. That means, what does that make it? 16. That make it a 53%? Or am I off? Was I give it a 50? No, that doesn't make any sense. Is it? Ooh, that's a bad grade if it is. I think I did the math wrong though. No, it would be like an 80. Right? I think that's an 80. So that's a B. That's a B. That's a B. We're giving it a B. We're giving it a B. I think.
Now I want to make sure. Now I want to make sure. I don't want to do it wrong. I don't want to do this wrong. I forgot. Yeah, no, it is. It's an 80. It's an 80%. 80%, which is a B, I think. Yeah? Because 90 in my world is an A. Anywhere in the 90% is an A. Yeah, it's an 80. We're good. I'm right. I'm right. I'm right. Watch me be wrong. We'll look it up afterwards and I'll be like wrong. So let's do this. Let's do this. Let's give them a grade. Like a silver star. Here, we got this guy again. Here we go. Look at him. Yeah, not bad. You get a B. You get a B for adaptation, but I think it's more of an A for how actually good the book is. It's because it's not bad. It's a pretty good book. Alright, recap. We had an A plus, a 20 out of 20 actually, for What Moves the Dead by T. Kingfisher. An A with a 19 out of 20 for Mexican Gothic. And then because the technicality that this isn't exactly an adaptation, but sort of is, and the fact that it's kind of complicated and a lot happened with it, this one is a B with a 16 out of 20. Great job. Great job, everybody. Clap, 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 clap. Alright, and that is The Fall of the House of Usher Adaptations. Right. Yeah, great. Thank you, View, for the clapping. That's all of them. So I hope that this is kind of fun. I hope that I have encouraged you to read some fun Fall of the House of Usher adaptations because they are fun. There's a lot out there too. That was another thing that I wanted to look up real quick before we leave, was that there are other ones. There are more than just what I have read. Usher. There's a whole list that I wanted to pull up. So there's a Goodreads list. Let me grab it. Let me grab that list. Let's do this. Go to this, and then I'll put it on here. Here we go. So, like I said, What Moves the Dead, Usher's Passing. There's this one, Beautifully Undone by Melissa Polk. The Fall, His Hideous Heart, Madeline. Which is after the Fall of Usher, so there's like more. I haven't read any of those other ones, and they're missing Mexican Gothic for some reason. But there are other ones. There are a bunch of other ones out there. This has been a book that has inspired many authors, and I hope it inspires you too. Back over to talking now. So, I know this one went over by a little bit, but, you know, I didn't know how long it was going to take, honestly. I was hoping we would fill time. We did. We filled time. We did good. Yeah. So, I will try to do something like this if I ever come across a bunch of adaptations again. But I can't promise that that's gonna happen. But there's other things that I wanted to do with, like, some book talks. I have some ideas for, like, author highlights. So we'll, like, take some authors that I've read and we'll talk about the things that they've written, and I'll go over some of my favorite books with them, and I'm gonna find, like, some interviews with them or something like that and see what we can find. That might be fun. And that's the concept for that one.
But there's some other things that we can do. If you have an idea, Stephen King, when, maybe. Although then I'll just rant about how much I don't like Stephen King that much anymore. But then in my ranting of things that I dislike about Stephen King, I'll find all the things that I still like about him. And then I'll be like, never mind, I do like it. Why are you doing that? Why are you doing that? That's dumb. No, it's not that Stephen. We're not gonna get into it. I've talked about it like almost every time we've done book stuff. It's just that Stephen King is not writing for my demographic anymore. And that's how I feel about it, which is fine. You don't have to write for me. I am but one demographic. Well, you know, there's just other stuff out there that I think is more interesting. I was gonna do I had one set up, but then I had to cancel because I got sick. But I did have it set up. We were gonna do T. Kingfisher because I very much enjoy their writing style, and we're gonna look at a black horror author that I think is interesting because I want to showcase people that we haven't heard a lot about. So like women in horror and people who aren't white in horror, which I think is really important because we should be reading from lots of different people. Well, we can throw an old white man in there too. we can look at Stephen King sometime. So that is the plan. Wednesday is game day. I'm pretty sure we will be playing Harvest thing. Not Harvest Moon. Well, like Harvest Moon. Help me. Stardew Valley. Stardew Valley. We're probably gonna play Stardew Valley again. I don't stream it because my computer decides to have a seizure when I do. But you can follow any of my besties over here. And you can watch us play on one of their channels. So that'll be on Wednesday. And then on Thursday, I will be doing another music stream. We're going to take a look at symphonic metal. So if you have anything that you would like us to listen to that you haven't already told me about, you can go ahead and let me know in any of the ways that you can. You can message me on Blue Sky, or you can also join our Discord and put it in there. Let me see, is there anything else important that we needed to say? Saturday, we're going to do Doki Doki again, but we're going to try to do some things that we haven't seen because I had so much fun with that stupid game. And it is my new personality, and I also enjoy doing all of the voices, and even though everybody keeps on trying to tell me that Monica is pronounced Monica for sure, I don't care. There seem to be Japanese, and I don't think that Monica is a name that you would see in Japanese, so Monica sounds like the way that you would pronounce that. And I think it sounds better. Anyway, thank you everybody for sticking around for that long lecture. We're gonna go ahead and get into a raid. And we want to raid our buddy Glitch Crown, who has just started their co-working stream. And we're gonna get some work done, and I'm gonna stop talking for a while. And then hopefully we can turn this into a very big long video, and it'll be really good, and you'll all be in it for a little bit. I'm sure some of your comments will be in it. Thank you guys for coming. Let me set that up. Is it going? Are we doing it? Are we gonna go see? Yeah, we're gonna go see the gorgeous purple cat. I'm gonna go see that gorgeous purple cat.
give Glitch pets, and I'll see you all next time. Thank you all for being here.